So previously on the camper reconversion, we put in the kitchen units and basically got a bed fitted, which was really cool. So in this week's episode, we're going to go through almost the complete conversion now. We're getting really close. So obviously, as you saw last week, we had the bed fitted and we started on with the kitchen units and stuff like that. And you saw that we ran into all sorts of issues. So what we've actually spent the last kind of like week doing really is lots of woodwork and lots of things that you don't normally do. And I must admit, I think the biggest part of this, and I'll be really, I don't want to say sad, but I'll miss it when I've finished with it, because I've really enjoyed getting stuck in. We have massively got stuck into this. Now, my friends have got all these big tools and all the big garages and all that kind of stuff. I've never really bothered because I don't really do DIY. I'm a gadget person. I don't really do DIY. But this saw, I think I bought it because I was cutting some trees down, and going like that with a saw, after a while, it's tedious and knackers you out. So get an electric saw, easier. Gadgets, you see, gadgets. So use the electric saw for all the kind of big adjustments we needed to make. So what kind of adjustments did we need to make? So after a bit of filing for 5 minutes, obviously there's all the rubbish that filed off. Sits in perfectly now. Well, the fridge obviously, like I said, didn't fit, so we had to kind of chamfer in different ways, remove parts of the structure so the fridge fitted. The second part of the fridge thing was a lovely one. When I ordered it so the lid actually was hinged, so it came up. Well, the problem with that is where I decided to put the electrics, when the hinge came up, the electrics would have hit it. So I had to think about where I was going to put the electrics then. Now, the next kind of thing we came across, and remember, I don't know if I said last time, was that the height inside the van is much lower because we've got this high-low roof. So just to give you an example, it's a pop-top roof, but at the back it extends 4 foot and at the front it's about 7 foot. But when it's down, no one knows you've got a high-low roof. So ultimately this is like a stealth camper. Fair enough, we've got 2 windows either side, but some work vans have windows either side, or it could be a people carrier, that kind of thing anyway. But as far as the top's concerned, if I'm on the street, no one knows it's a camper because you can't tell that there's a pop top up there. But it does diminish the height inside the van, which meant that the cupboards that were fitted or supplied were about that much. I think it was like 40 centimeters or something like that. Too much. Absolutely crazy. So we had to trim them down. We also bought a shelf to go over the side window that connects the whole length from the cupboard to the side. The shelf again was too long, but obviously when you fit it and it's fitted lower, going back to the fridge lid, it meant when the fridge lid opens it hits the shelf and it wouldn't open enough that you could get things in and out. So we decided to change the fridge lid to magnetized kind of connections, if you like, or whatever. So there's 4 magnets each of the corner of the lid, and that are on the back of the frame of the cabinetry. So basically you lift the lid up, and now you can get into the fridge. Fantastic, because it cured 2 problems. First of all, the fact that the lid didn't lift up so you can get into the fridge, and the second one is where I placed my electrics as well wasn't now a problem, because the lift just lifted out of the way, so my electrics could go where I wanted them to do. Why did I want the electrics there? Well, they're kind of like convenient height-wise for wiring everything into my little engine roomy thing down below where all my electrics and everything are, and also they're kind of convenient to get to when you want to switch the lights on, plug things in and that kind of stuff. I didn't want them all over the place. I wanted to try and keep them nice and neat, and from the past experience, the reason why we're reconverting it, and I've seen a lot of companies do this, and you should listen on this one, don't put your switches and sockets on the faceplate which is going to be near where people sleep. So if you put your switches and sockets and things like that on the front faceplate of your kitchen units, that's only a few kind of like inches above where people are going to sleep on the rock and roll bed or whatever, what happens is when they get into bed and start rolling around, they're going to start kicking the switches or the sockets or whatever. So now the switches and sockets are all out of the way. That means they're not going to get kicked or bumped or into whatever disturbed when I'm asleep in bed. So they're out of the way then. So we also moved into changing where some of the things were. So we moved the shelf inside one of the cupboards because that was kind of a weird position where it was. And we've also connected up obviously the sink units and all the taps and all the wires. All the electrics are done. If you want to know about campervan electrics, then that video is already on my channel. Go check it out, and that is just me talking about the electrics. There's no other part of the van conversion in there mentioned whatsoever, although you do get to see little glimpses of what we're doing. So the basics after that really were to try and go through how we're going to be using it and make everything else fit. We had to really trim almost everything down. We trimmed them down, and then we found that, you know, my carpentry skills aren't really what they're up to, and also the angles of the van and all that kind of thing, they're all very kind of, you know, peculiar and misshaped. So I learned how to scribe, which is the process of running your finger down the contour of the van, or possibly getting your, you know, piece of wood against it, running something down the back and projecting that contour further out onto the wood so you can see where you need to contour the van lines onto the piece of wood for the cabinetry. Put your pencil next to the block and then run it down the line there, and what you get is a contour of the side. So if there's a small gap there but a really big gap there between your line, you know you've got to shave a bit off there to equal that gap. Yeah, scribing, that was a whole easy once you got to do it. You know, you did the old run it down, yeah, that bit there's wider than that bit, so chamfer a bit off that bit, it'll all fit. That was perfect. Tedious, but you know, did it in the end. We took some off the lid of or the top of the cupboard because it came with a lid. In our van, we've kind of got these little hooks, if you like, or screw points that hold the camper pop top down in the corners, and the lid of the cupboard was over the top of one of those screws, so I had to put a hole in for that so you could still get to it. And also one of my LED lights was over the top of the cupboard as well. So I thought, well, rather than pulling it all through, doing all my wiring again, because obviously this is a reconversion, so some of it's been done already, I just put a hole in the top of the cupboard so the light just comes through. That works really well. So you get a light inside the cupboard now. So yeah, it was just a case of changing little things so that they're fitted into our van, so that specifically things fitted as well as them fitting in, and getting the lines right as well. So you've got this box that's kind of that shaped. It tapers in narrower at the back than it is at the front. The roof line comes down at the back from being up at the front. And then because you've got these lines here, they give a certain degree of kind of of lines. You know, your eye line sees this. Your eye line then sees these, which don't really kind of like they sag a little bit. I need to sort that out. But this doesn't follow the line of this, and on that side it's even worse because the window doesn't follow the line of this. And we were trying to line up everything, and that was the biggest key to this, is trying to, you walked in the van at one stage and I'm like, the van looks like it's bent in the middle. So I got an app for my phone which gave like really kind of up to 3 decimal places of degree measurement. And I went and measured all my surfaces, both vertical and horizontal, because the other thing you can't do obviously in a van while it's sat in your driveway or anything is measure the absolute kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, level. There you go. So you can't use a spirit level. You need to get a base level of everything and then work from everything to that. And it's the same with your verticals as well. So you have to make sure all the verticals are right, and then kind of make sure that things connected to those verticals that we knew were right, and they all connected perfectly and everything like that as well. So it meant that we actually pulled out half the kitchen and repositioned it so that everything else that connected back through the cupboard all then, you know, looked perfect. It looked great in comparison to looking bobbins. But we got there. The biggest thing that we really messed up on, and this was a classic one, was when we assembled the cupboard. We did obviously the end which forms part of the side of the fridge, which is where my electrics are. That then obviously you have a fascia where the big tambour door is at the top, and then you have a return at the back where the small tambour door is at the bottom to get into the storage underneath and where all the electrics are. So our plan was that we would have the shelf which comes to separate the 2 parts of the cupboard, top and bottom, would just pop in afterwards, and then I could, you know, just drop my hand in if I needed to change any batteries, change a fuse or anything like that. But other than that, it's all below the shelf, so your general day-to-day using of it and all shoving all your stuff in there, you're not going to disrupt any of the electrics. They're all out of the way. That was the thought anyway, until we realized the first thing was the shelf that they cut us was obviously wrong as well. Bear in mind, we hadn't touched the shelf at this stage, we just thought it'd slot in. So yeah, ding ding, first kind of thought was, oh yeah, we had to adjust everything else, so obviously we're going to have to adjust the shelf. So that's where the scribing thing comes in, to get the contour and all that. So we got the contour, cut it all up, and then went, oh. So we got the shelf, and then the shelf wouldn't fit through the hole of the tambour door inside because it was bigger. So the next genius idea was to cut the shelf in half. Then we had to put a batten on the back because obviously it was going to lose some of its structural support just by being one shelf. It's got these modesty blocks everywhere. So we put more modesty blocks and we put a batten at the back so the 2 shelves could sit on there. Chamfered a few edges out of the way so all the wires and everything like that can go in that shelf. Drilled some 16mm holes in either one so you can get your fingers through them to pull them back out. And then we came across this one. It was the guy who bought the old kitchen and the old interior. He'd mentioned about this stuff, and it's like an edging strip with a bead. and it's used in all sorts of things. But he said what you do on surfaces that don't quite align, or like at the back where your cupboard is meeting the back of the van and there's a bit of a gap or whatever, you put this beading in, staple it onto the back, but this little bead at the outside then sticks out enough that it covers the problem. So we use this beading on the parts of the shelving where, you know, as mentioned about the angles not being right, and it looked quite nice. So we thought, okay then, so we use this beading again on the one edge of the shelf that we cut in half, so that one bit slots in, the other bit with the edging beading edge comes over the top, fills it in, looks fantastic. So that's been an interesting time. We are so close to finishing now. The cupboard door is on for the toilet. The toilet wouldn't fit with the hinge on it. It wouldn't come in and out because the hinges and the door stood too proud, so they made the entrance or the exit to the cupboard too narrow. So we've used the same magnet kind of solution with the toilet cupboard door as we did with the fridge top. So basically just put it in there. And in a degree of irony, Mandy's making a lid, a cushion top and a bit of a shroud for the toilet, so that we can use it as a stool. So basically you can sit on it and not for ones or twos or something. You can sit on it and converse, or you can sit on it and eat because it's got a nice little cushion on top. So that'll be all right. So we are just that close now to finishing. It is just the finishing touches and those little tweaks. Now, someone said to me that you never complete a project, so I'm kind of getting that. And people are saying, well, come on, give us a review, give us the tour and everything. Like, but I want to see it. I want you to see it finished. I want you to see it when I'm proud to go, yes, we did this. Well, you know, someone did build the bed and installed the bed. However, since then, all the kitchen stuff and everything, we've pretty much redone half of it, and the rest of it we've tweaked. So yeah, I feel like, I know people say built not bought, but we did build it. We just bought the materials. They were supposed to work better than they did, but they didn't. So I still feel built not bought, you know, fairly applies. Anyhow, that's pretty much where we're at. So we are working very hard this weekend to plumb in the rest of the bits. So if you're waiting for a van tour, as I am, then it's going to be a couple of weeks. Oh no, sorry, from this video going out, it's going to be a week. And obviously weather depending and all that kind of thing as well. So I've hopefully found 2 spots that I can go and film the van tour in. And you're thinking, what would you mean a spot? Well, I want it to be nice. I want a nice sunny day, or at least, you know, not raining. And I'd like a nice location to go and do van touring. Because when you go watch like the indie projects, it's always a fairly nice location-ish to go film in. Well, I know sometimes it's a car park or whatever, but sometimes it's like up on a hill, you get great views and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm aiming for, to get it all buttoned down, finished as much as possible. And obviously get a nice location, nice weather. So fingers crossed, within a week from you seeing this video, then there'll be another video out, and that should be the complete van tour finished job, all done, hunky-dory, all working, everything else. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you like what you saw today. Any comments, questions or anything like that, and leave them in the comment section down below. Please do give it a thumbs up if you did like it. If you're not already subscribed and you like gadgets, tech and campervan stuff, then yeah, subscribe and you'll find, you know, lots of interesting things hopefully. And until the next time, take care. We'll see you again. Bye.